Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, Kenneth.
Oh yeah,
Hey,
Hey Rosa.
Xander.
Hey Rosa. Hey Kenneth. Nice to see you.
yeah, you too, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I'm so excited. I love this. Kenneth, we welcome you on the show and let's speak and talk about just this, whatever this may be. What would you say? What is just this?
I have no idea. See, I'm just gonna go by year lead and see. Yeah.
You go by what and see?
I'll see what comes up with you guys. I have no idea.
Okay, here, here is just like full on aliveness, booming aliveness. And I remember when I first met this message about non-duality, this was with Emerson and Ariana. And I love this character, the Ariana, like very, very vivid, young. And we got in touch. And she was like, kind of, Rosa, you have to check Kenneth. You have to check Kenneth. And I was like, okay, I will check it. And my English wasn't that good. And since your English is even more difficult for non, if you don't
Mm.
speak English, it took me, but this is perfection. It took me more time to just get you then in a way. Of course, I'm not getting this, but yeah, she was right. You have to check Kenneth.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. I totally love the way you're talking about this. And the maybe the loveliest part of it is the simplicity here for me. This is the biggest resonance. The simplicity, the extraordinary ordinariness, or whatever. Yeah, good. This
Mm.
I wanted to share.
Mm.
Sander, what about you?
Well, yeah, what can I say? Just this. There was this longing, Kenneth, to get you on the show, right? And to just chat, just this, whatever seems to be happening, sitting and talking and whatever. So I was wondering, there seems to be a love there for this message and for music, playing guitar. I heard some singing, uh, and I see meetings in Amsterdam and all that. And I was just wondering, was it always like that? I mean, it's always this. That's quite obvious. But the love to talk and play guitar or whatever. How's that? How
Well,
is that?
there's two different things there. There's the music and there's the sharing of the message. So really, like I I just try and keep it very simple. I don't play guitar on my meetings or anything, and it's just a thing I enjoy music. So sometimes they're at the beginning of the ones I put up on YouTube. Um, so the thing about the guitar as well is I think the thing about the messages is just it needs to be really simple and direct. And maybe if I'm playing guitar, it has a maybe that it's entertaining or something like that. So it's not a communication which I'm trying to entertain anybody. Um so yeah, I don't know, we'll see how that kind of pans out, but yeah, it's just something I like. And that's music is, what do you say about music? I don't know, it's nothing and everything.
Yeah,
So yeah, there you go. I don't know anything really about music. I can't talk about it. Anytime I talk about it, what do you say? But regarding though the communication, like, I mean, that was really, no, it wasn't in the characters. Kenneth, the character, it wasn't in something that was in my nature to try and to speak to groups or to speak on front of people or anything. So it came as a big surprise, actually, that it was shared like that, because if logically it would not be the thing that I would choose to do. I would choose not to do that, actually. I
yeah,
would choose
beautiful.
not to speak to people at all. I would like, and when I was in you know, them sorts of situations. I do it, but I would not, I didn't like it at all. You know, I didn't like being center of attention or any of that. And then when this apparently happened, it was the communication, there was just this passion about it. And none of that mattered then at all. It didn't matter what I was comfortable with or not comfortable with, or it didn't matter. It just didn't matter. It was just this was there to be shared. And yeah,
Beautiful. Love it.
yeah, so it's quite a surprise actually, really. Yeah.
Yeah, it always seems a surprise, right? You never know what next. You know,
Yeah, what
anything.
always struck me with it was well, there's a few things about it. First of all, there's no authority in it. So there's nobody who knows this and is an authority on it, even though it seems that there are some speakers who are really clear, and it's just it is that way and it seems that way, but the clear communication is actually nothing to do with them and comes from unknowing. Actually, it doesn't come from knowing. And the ones where it does come from knowing, for me, it's very energetically different, totally different. Although the words could sound almost identical, actually, very, very similar. So, you know, it's just this sharing without agenda from nothing. And it's what struck me was it was incredible how it would just be there. I'll just be there, this conversation, you know, whether it was with friends or with random people or with people in work, or it was always that element to me of surprise of, oh, this is being discussed, like, oh, seemingly out of nowhere, you know. And then the logically the people I thought I would talk to about this, that conversation never happened then.
Exactly.
So that and that's amazing to me. Yeah. It can just be there, and it's and what I also noticed all about that was it was totally energetic. It was completely energetic, and it would just resonate with someone, and it would
Yeah.
just be this, and I could almost see it resonating, and then they could be back then thinking what if or whatever, but and it might just be one conversation, or it might be the kind of opening to more, but it didn't matter anyway. But that's kind of how it was there, and that's the way it was since. Whether it was speaking to one person, it wasn't. It was always like that. It was always just energetic, and then it just seemed to come more, and then there seemed to be more questions, and
Yeah.
um,
Actually.
then meetings, or whatever. I was invited to do meetings 13 years ago. I think it was my first meeting.
Wow.
And then that's the way it was, and that's the way it is. That's the way it appears to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. You know, and I mean, you're saying there's no authority, but you know, in the same way, I mean, this is no one's message, you know, it doesn't come from anyone. It's not for someone, it's not by someone, but, you know, there seems to be, or there may appear to be an idea that it comes from someone, that there are some characters knowing this, you know, and that's just, I mean, it's heard as it heard and it's seen as it's seen. There's no one able to control that. Maybe the idea arises that Kenneth knows something, you
Oh,
know.
it's impossible for it
It's
not to be
impossible.
seen
Yes,
like that,
Yeah.
because if you
yes,
feel like an individual,
Yeah.
it will
exactly.
be certainly felt that this person knows something, or possibly this person has something that I want.
Yes,
It's all
exactly.
kind of the same thing anyway, whether they know something I want to know or they have something that I want to have.
Yeah.
And um that's the way it will feel if you feel like an individual.
And
Um,
that's it already,
that's
you
the way
know.
it is. There's
Yeah,
no way around that. And
no,
plus, it will also always be seen as a carrot, some sort of a carrot. It's
yes,
impossible for this to be communicated without it seeming like
absolutely.
something that I would be attractive to me or whatever. But it
Yes,
doesn't matter, like, because the whole point is that it doesn't
it
matter
doesn't
what
matter.
the individual thinks, or it's not about that. The individual will always bring questions, because
Yes,
that's the nature of living and knowing. And you want to always have energetically want to get something, and that's totally fine.
Exactly.
And then
Kenneth,
what happens then when it's shared clearly, then there's and the answers come from nothing, and it's a clear communication, there's nothing to get, And there's energetically that what happens is there's a resonance, there's a boundlessness with that, then that some are very sensitive to, and it can
Yeah.
just be quite obvious.
Kenneth, I just noticed you were talking about the individual. This is a kind of the separation, the sense of separation.
Yeah, the apparent individual is the one that feels that they have a life. So
Okay, exactly.
commonly people feel that they have a life.
Yeah,
and that's logically where, you know, it feels very logic. It goes totally unquestioned, of course, because this is what we're told from when we're very, very small, and this is how, experientially, this is what we feel to be our reality, is that I was born, I have a life, and I'm making choices, and what's happening in, excuse me, in my life is a result of these choices that I make. Then, so there's a real lived sense of causality and time, and that feels very solid and real. And for some, then there's a huge dissatisfaction in that, and there's a huge yearning from it, and then there's a questioning about it. And there you go. Then you have a seeker, really. But like, I don't differentiate really, because everyone who feels separate is seeking, obviously, but for some there's more of a kind of a sensitivity to it, um and then you have this whole spiritual seeking, obviously, which you know, you're moving into the area then where it's explicitly stating, listen, what you're looking for is not going to be found in a Ferrari and a Lamborghini and a bigger house and a bigger job and more sex and all of this kind of stuff and gambling and whatever thing your thing is. It's not going to be in something. So it's actually in here. It's in nothing. And that's very appealing to people then, because they feel,
totally.
yeah, you know, I mean, I'm not going to get, I don't
That's
think
the jackpot, Kenneth. Just go
yeah,
inside and you will find
yeah,
it.
yeah, totally. Yeah. Like that, this kind of inner landscape of who you are. And I mean, that's a huge area then. So we'd be a long time even covering the different areas of that. But you know, that makes sense logically too. Like, you know, that there's a sense that it's not something that will satisfy. So maybe it's this you know, self-inquiry, or some sort of spiritual state or whatever. It depends what, you know, and people are listening to different things. And then in that, then there's this communication then, which is you know, it's an agendaless sharing, a suggestion, a description that suggests there's nothing to get. It's actually an apparent loss, that there is no separate you. And it's very different to ones that communications then that speak to somebody and they tell them what to do to get somewhere, basically. So most communications are prescriptive, and that's very appealing then.
Yeah.
It appeals
Beautiful.
to yeah.
There came the point. I was also like with this awareness consciousness, like inside, but like very autodidactish, doing it by myself, and you know, but and then there, while listening to the uncompromising non-dual message, I was not anymore able, this was like gradual, listen to the other thing, this personal message. This was simply not anymore. I could not listen to this. This was like, oh no. And
Yeah, it's
because
very common. Yeah,
as you said, it is this unpersonal openness, which is
yeah,
just everything. And
yeah.
yeah.
And it shows you that it's energetic too. So that's quite a common thing. I hear from people all the time that they're like that. They're listening to this person and this person, and they're maybe doing some spiritual practices or whatever, and then it's very energetic, and they just can't listen to this sort of stuff anymore. And often they don't know why, because they'd even say to me, well, this person, you know, we don't have to name anyone anyway, but like, say this person, this teacher, they're really saying the same thing as that you're saying, but I don't know what it is. I can't listen to them. So, and that's kind of how it was here too. It was like that. I was listening to all these people and I quite liked them. I really enjoyed the characters. And then I just couldn't listen to them anymore. But then
Yeah.
I still enjoyed the characters. It wasn't that I didn't like them.
Yeah.
And then I
Oh,
realized, well, it's nothing to do with liking someone or not liking.
Yeah.
And it was all energetic. And then within it, I'd say only a few weeks really, or it was a short, and then it really, but first was the energetic thing of, I just know energetically, it seemed to be kind of doing something. And then it just, woof, there's
yes.
nothing in it for me anymore at all. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was the same here. I was without calling names, but I was very in love with the guru, and it was full on a couple of years even. And then
Mm.
from one day to the other, it was waking up, and even the voice, I could not listen to the voice. There was no hate or something like that,
No,
or
no, no.
but it was just over, you know. It stopped totally from one day to the other, and I mean, still the characters liked what you also are saying there, you know. There's nothing wrong or
No.
anything, but it's just it doesn't, you know, it's like you know, there's maybe a love for heavy metal or whatever kind of music, and there's no, you cannot hear something else, you know. It just doesn't work that way anymore. It's just over. It's
It's
done.
just energetic. It's all energetic. Like all of like that whole dynamic as well. If it's a guru, that's like that's a feedback loop, really. It's an energy feedback
Exactly.
loop. So you feel that there's something missing. You feel that it's a
A
dualistic
total
reality.
addiction. A total
Yeah.
addiction. I just was like, oh, I cannot
Mm.
stand this anymore. This was the
Yeah.
worst addiction ever then, you know? And this
Yeah.
was the thing, yeah. Yeah. Mm.
Mm. And then that person is a teacher and you're a student and it just feeds back.
Mm.
And then when it breaks, it's like turning off a light switch. It's like turning off the light. I
Beautiful.
I often use that analogy because if you create the circuit by turning on the light, you create this energetic loop, you know, and that's kind of how it is. Like you really do feel this dude or dudette, whoever is a guru. It's a good, like they're special. You can fucking taste the specialness of them.
Totally.
You're
Totally.
drinking it in. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And then it's just bang, it's just gone. It's not, you're looking at just a face and a body and two hands, and you're just going, what the fuck was I? How did I get, you know? And that's how it is. And often that happens an awful lot when people have no idea what's happened.
Yes.
So again, it's energetic, like that special thing just collapses.
Yeah.
And they're just often they just move on to the next thing or whatever. But it's just it
But what do you
illuminates that
mean,
there's no
Kenneth?
guru and there's no team.
What do you mean they move on to the next thing?
Maybe sometimes they move on to maybe find another teacher, or they move on to, I have no
Okay.
idea, but when I hear from people, I often hear um this energetically, this sense of a teacher or an authority or a guru just collapses.
Yeah.
And I have no idea, like this can happen years before they hear this kind of communication.
Yes.
It can happen decades before, and then they might, and then I have no idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and even this clear, direct communication can be the next thing, you know. It can just simply be the next thing, you know.
Well, yeah, it's
When
heard as it's heard. It doesn't. It
where is
could
it heard?
be
Yeah, it's
because it's not anything. It's not
Yeah.
anything, and it's just this.
exactly.
It's a sharing. So some, like some don't. Most I would say don't even hear it at all. Really, like they hear their version of what's said. So if you have a meeting, you have 50 people, you would often have a huge amount of them people will go away, and they're just everything has been filtered because the individual is a filter, and it's kind of matched with other beliefs and other people, and they can manage to sit through a full day and not really hear what's said. But the individual doesn't hear what's said anyway, so it doesn't.
No,
The individual
no.
Exactly.
is always going to make something of it anyway. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
There's
Yeah.
Yeah.
already no one hearing this already, or
Yeah.
speaking this, you know, which is a separate you being somewhere hidden speaking this, you know. So it's heard as it heard. There's no control in how it's seen or heard,
Yeah,
and it
of course,
just
clearly.
simply
Yeah.
is heard as it heard, and it, which is this also, you know, hearing this as a teaching or not is just simply what seems to be happening then.
Of course, yeah. That's the whole thing with the meetings is there's no agenda. It's very some
Yes.
people pick up on that very quickly. They know
Yeah.
that there's no they sense they're not being spoken to.
Yeah.
And for some, that's a relief because they
Mhm.
sense also what actually they're
Yeah.
being seen as unconditional love
Yes.
because they are everything. Everything is nothing. That's so that can be immediately seen. And but some also they sense they're not being spoken to and they feel they feel very confronted by that.
Yes.
They really struggle with that. And for some, often it's both. It's like this the resonance and then also a huge sense of wanting to run out of the room.
Yes.
Like I hear it so often, people like they're just really amazed by it and they simultaneously want to leave, and that's what it is that it's resonating, but then energetically that feels separate. Actually, because it's resonating, that feels separate feels I'm in trouble here. I'm in big trouble here. Actually, this is not a safe place to be. And of course it isn't, because it's the
No.
illumination that you're not real, you're not there. So all sorts of things appear to happen. Anything along that whole spectrum can appear to happen. People can be very confronted and walk out straight away, or anything. It doesn't matter. And
Yeah.
obviously, there's no agenda for anyone to fall away because there is nobody.
There's no one already. There's no
So
one ready to fall
you know,
away.
so that's how it's a clear message then, and that's why also it's a rare message.
Yes.
It's not as common as people think.
No. No.
So it's energetic and it's this it can't describe what it is, but nobody's been spoken to or addressed, and there's no agenda for anybody to fall away or not fall away or anything.
Exactly.
And then and that's what makes it so different, because we're constantly being spoken to about
Yes.
how we can become more this and less this, and move closer to what we're looking for. So immediately then, when it's that communication, it's confirming that it's separate to you. If you can
Yes.
move
Exactly.
closer to it,
Yeah.
then you are an individual then. And
Yeah.
energetically, people, they just totally relax with that. I almost envisage they go in and they hear that no matter what, it doesn't really, the words can be very similar, but you can almost see that, oh, it's okay, I'm safe here, I'm grand. Because I mean, an individual knows when they're being spoken to immediately.
Yes. Yeah, and feeling like you need to fall away or whatever is just simply rising or not.
Yeah, of
This
course, yeah.
there's nothing, there's no escape because there's no you to escape whatever seems to be or not seems to be happening.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
there's a
there's
resonance with what's said, and then there's there's a curiosity about it, and there's a draw to it, and
yes,
it just plays out like it does. So for some, there's that resonance and curiosity, and then they just move away from it. Actually, they don't want to hear it anymore. So they move back to the safety of a teacher, and they
yes.
can remain there for quite a while, and then some. It's curious because I started apparently a while ago. I've seen people come back like 7, 8 years later,
Oh.
and it's like I couldn't hear you 7 or 8 years ago. I sat through that whole meeting and like I just whatever. So I mean, that's just the way it is. Or
Yeah,
maybe they never appear to come back. It doesn't matter anyway.
No, because
exactly.
it's just simply what seems to be happening.
Yeah,
Seeking for something, there's already no seeker. There's already no one seeking. There's just seeking
yeah,
or whatever seems to be happening. No one doing it.
yeah,
Is this, the longing to get free is already just simply this.
yeah.
The longing to get free. And it's not for someone or by someone.
Mm-hmm.
It's what arise.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, Kenneth, was there seeking there?
Yeah, they were
Was
seeking
there
with
seeking?
everyone who feels separate. So there was a sense of seeking, but not in a traditional, wouldn't have been a traditional
Oh,
seeker
Kenneth,
at
Kenneth,
all.
wait a sec, please. May I
Mm.
interrupt you?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
under and we will continue with your story. But Xander, Xander, would you say that in your story was no seeking?
Well, there was seeking for something else.
Okay, so seeking
But
whatsoever.
the something else was this already, just the seeking. So
Yeah.
this the seeking for something else was this already. Just simply what seems to be happening. Seeking for something else.
I
But
simply got,
never out of a depression or something like that, or like, but like the more a curiosity, is this is it, whatever seems to happening but is this it? Is this all? Or is there more? Is there something else? Well, thinking there's something else is this already, or feeling that there is a me or no me is just this.
okay, so Xander Lynchen, we can say that in your story it was this curiosity, but it's in a way also
Doesn't
a
matter.
lag thing. Yeah, but for me it was interesting. Sorry, Kenneth, for interrupting.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so what? How was it with your story?
It doesn't really matter. Like, it's just a story. So,
Yeah.
when there's a sense of separation, there's a question, and there's a yearning that comes from that. So there
Yeah.
isn't anyone who's not seeking.
Yeah.
Now that degree of that seeking varies,
Yeah.
from person to person. So some people there's a huge yearning. There's just a huge yearning, and for others not so much, and that's just the way it plays out. But there's always a question when you feel you have a life. There's a question about that, because no matter what you feel you do in your life, there's something, or what satisfaction you get and everything, there's a question underneath it all, whether it's positive or negative or whatever. So, and that's just the way it is then. And everyone is actually seeking their own absence, really,
Yeah, beautiful.
in whatever way that they are. So spiritual seeking is of no relevance really at all. It's just another thing. It's just another method of seeking. And I don't differentiate spiritual seeking from someone who's trying to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Which,
It's the same.
but then the problem is when you speak like that, people think that I speak negatively about spirituality. And it's so funny because I would say, well, show me where I said it. No, I probably have said it's bullshit too. So
Yeah, of
maybe,
course.
because
Boom.
some aspects of it are completely fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but it's also just what's appearing to happen. It's not I don't speak about it in those terms that it's a negative thing or a positive thing. It's just a thing that appears to happen. And I guess the reason it comes up more is explicitly in a lot of spiritual traditions, it does say there is no separate you, right? So it's naming it, it's saying that really there's a sense of unworthiness and unwholeness that comes from your sense that you feel you're a separate individual. And then it prescribes a way for you to do something to not be separate.
Exactly.
It describes
Exactly.
wholeness. And so it just reinforces the
Exactly.
idea
And
that
it's
you're separate.
beautiful, and the people love it. They fucking love it. They are
Spirituality. Yeah. It's just it becomes an identity, and
it's a message for the
thing to do.
person. And
Oh,
this is
totally,
this
completely,
endless
of
love.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's even more powerful maybe than possibly material. The idea of getting stuff materially, this idea of this really exploring this thing called consciousness and awareness. And it's like you're delving into this limitless me, and it's just because it's just unending. You can just continue, you'll never. And the energetically, the individual loves that.
Oh,
It loves that it can never, because it knows I can never get there. And it loves levels because it knows really there's no end to the level. So
totally.
it just loves all of that nonsense. Yeah. So that's the way it is, and I completely understand how people really like it.
Perfect.
And
This
it's
is
also
it too.
nothing,
This
like
is
some
it
people
too.
do it and they might do meditation. I've also met people who like to meditate and they don't really buy any of the enlightenment stuff. They just think, oh fuck it, I go for a cycle, I meditate, I do whatever. And that's fair enough too. Obviously we just generalize when we're talking about these kinds of things. So
playing guitar, liking to play guitar, liking to do physical exercise. You may call it yoga, whatever you want to call it. It's just simply what seems to be happening. But there's no
Yeah.
one liking it or not liking it already. It's just simply,
Yeah.
and also with the seeking God or seeking enlightenment is just the same. It's just.
Yeah, it's just you've objectivized nothing, so it's just another object to which you can work towards.
I want to
Yes.
get nothing. I want to
Yeah,
become nothing.
and a huge belief system, of course, that
Yeah.
can bring a lot of comfort that there's a God after
Yes.
all this struggle and strife and this difficult life.
Yeah.
I'll get to
Yes.
heaven maybe, or whatever it is, and that's there's nothing wrong or right with any of these things, they're just
Beautiful.
what appear to happen. Yeah, and beliefs and
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes.
yeah, it's just that's the way it is.
Unconditional, what it is, unconditionally this, unconditional love
Mm,
whatsoever. Beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, let's continue with part 2, okay?
Yeah,
See you.
okay.
See ya.